This is the Outback Quarterback Daily Podcast, and we're introducing the Monday Morning Juiceometer. Who's got juice? Who doesn't? We're about to tell you. Let's go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first Outback QB Daily episode post-Red Zone in 2024. It was as good as ever. I was up very early. I'm sure you all were too, if your working circumstances or personal circumstances allowed it. I know sometimes things get in the way of getting up at 3:30 a.m. or whatever the time is in your time zone. But when you can do it, it's one of the greatest experiences in sport, is sitting on your couch watching 7 hours of commercial-free football. If you haven't subscribed to us, by the way, on YouTube, if you are watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and hit the little dingy bell so that you get notifications. And if anyone's, well, for those who are listening to this on the podcast, just audio, reminder, we are on YouTube. And this episode is fully presented in the widescreen format on YouTube. So search for Outback QB Podcast there. All right, this is the Monday Morning Juiceometer. So technically, while I'm recording this, it is Monday morning. It's going to be afternoon very, very soon. It'll probably be afternoon by the time you hear this, but it's Monday morning while I'm doing it. And all this segment is just, it's not exhaustive. It's just a list of players that had juice this morning and a few that didn't have juice. They're not necessarily the obvious ones. Some of them are obvious. Some of them are not obvious. It's not exhaustive, like I said. I'll definitely miss some, but I tell you where we won't miss them is in our game reviews on the Outback QB main podcast tomorrow and in the MVP episode in this very podcast in a few days' time, where we go through the votes for all of the games. All right, no juice. Let's start with the no juice. We'll start with the negative, and then we'll get on to the positive. Now, this may be obvious, but Deshaun Watson, a new year, his third at Cleveland, and he has no juice. No juice at all. 24 of 45, 169 yards, a consolation touchdown to Jerry Jeudy when they were already down by 24 points, and 2 interceptions. It hasn't gotten better. It has not gotten better, and this is how it started in year 2, and we thought give him time, and it's how it started in year 1 when he returned from his suspension, and we said give it time. There's no more time to give. There's no more time to give. It's this year or it's nothing for Watson in year 3 or of 5 of this contract, and there was no juice today. That is a real worry, and even the defense collapsed against Dallas, which is rare. Tell you who else didn't have any juice, and that's scary Terry McLaurin. No chemistry with Jaden Daniels, his rookie quarterback. Yes, it's only the first game, of course, but we know how important McLaurin is meant to be for this offense, and Drost on our main panel show is a huge fan of scary Terry. I think he even included him in his gutsy calls to have a big year. 1,200 plus yards, I think, was the call. Well, we started with 17 on 2 receptions today. There was nothing scary about Terry today. No juice for Terry. I tell you who else there was no juice for is Marvin Harrison Jr., the 4th overall pick for Arizona. Again, let's not overreact. He's a rookie wide receiver in his very first game. It's his debut. But only 1 catch for 4 yards. We thought that they would use him a little bit more. Arizona were somewhat juicy as a team. They were certainly in the game against the Bills. That's because, well, there was a few factors, but DJ Dallas's kick return, the dynamic kickoff, the NFL will be frothing over that. Their new rule got us a touchdown return, so that was cool. But Harrison, he was open. There's the clip on social media. He was open. He was free for a potential game-winning touchdown. Kyler didn't see him, didn't get it to him. And he ends the day with just 1 reception for 4 yards. No juice. But let's get into some juice. Some guys who had a lot of juice. And my goodness me, did Baker Mayfield have juice today. 24 of 30, 4 touchdowns. It's only the second time since 2020 that he's thrown 4 touchdowns in a game. 289 yards. He connected with his boys. Mike Evans, 2 more touchdowns. Doesn't miss that guy. He's going to be good until he's 50. Chris Godwin, he scored as well, an 80-plus yards. Chemistry was off the charts. It was a perfect performance from Baker Mayfield, and we love him on this show at Muscle Cat Media. He's one of our favourites because he can give you anything, and today he gave us good Baker, which was fantastic. J.K. Dobbins for the Chargers. What a story. Tore his ACL a few years ago. Last year, tore his Achilles. He's shown so much talent when he was at Baltimore. We just wanted him to get in the park and have a crack. Last year, it was game 1 when he did his Achilles. Well, this time, game 1 went well for him. And he was unbelievable. 135 yards on 10 carries. That's 13.5 yards per carry, if you don't mind. Plus a touchdown. He deserves everything that comes his way today, J.K. Dobbins. It was a performance that made you think, man, Jim Harbaugh's got some smarts. He knows how to use these guys. He brought across the Baltimore running room. We saw that. We talked about it a lot in preseason. And week 1, that's a big tick. Dak Prescott, Now, his game performance wasn't particularly juicy. 179 yards, touchdown, easy win. He was fine. But what was juicy is just before the game, hours before the game, he signed a new contract. And we've been speculating for ages. We thought this might be his last year in Dallas. He won't get the renewal. They'll be looking somewhere else. But no, Dak's there to stay. 4 more years, $240 million. That makes him average annual value the highest paid quarterback per year, $60 million. Wowzers. Second is Burrow and Love equal, and of course Deshaun Watson on that 5-year clunker of a contract, $250 million. Chris Boswell, the Pittsburgh kicker, had juice. Now, I have to mention Boswell because I love kickers, and also Hawley's doing this game in MVP, and I'm very worried that he won't squeeze him in for MVP. I think I'd have him 5 votes, and that's the highest you can get, because listen to this. He scored every single point for Pittsburgh, every single one, all 18 in their victory over Atlanta. He was 6 from 6. He had a 57-yarder, a 56-yarder, and a 51-yarder. Unbelievable. And he also took over the punting duties when Cam Johnston got injured. So he's got juice. 2 more. Joe Alt, on debut, the number 5 overall pick. What a guy. 21 years old. He came up against Max Crosby, the superstar edge rusher, on 11 snaps. And guess how many pressures he gave up? None. Not one. It doesn't get much better than that on debut, coming up against a star of the competition and a wrecking ball in Max Crosby. So Joe Alt's got juice. And then there's a few sack boys, multi-sack boys, who have got juice. Greg Rousseau, we talked him up all off-season. Buffalo, 3 sacks. Brilliant. Alontae Taylor, New Orleans. Not a name you hear much. 3 sacks to start the year. And one more, Keon White. Now, Keon White, you may know the name. If you're a football head, you definitely know the name. He was a draft pick for the Pats last year. He's in his second year now. In his whole rookie year, he had 1 sack. And he was made viral famous for his reaction when he got drafted to the Pats. He was overlooked in the early rounds, disappointed he didn't go higher. And when he finally got drafted to the Pats, he was there shaking his head and looking angry. And I think the look he was going for was, I'm going to make them pay. You know, this is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Everyone before me was a mistake. Josh Rosen, everyone before me was a mistake. Didn't work out for him, works out for others. But Keon White, he was there looking miserable when he got drafted by the Pats. And it just looked like he was ungrateful. Anyway, rookie season, 1 sack. Today, first game of his second year, gets 2.5. Well done, Keon White. In a win for the Pats. A win for the Pats against the Bengals in Cincinnati. They started slow again. Now, every single game will be reviewed tomorrow on our Outback Quarterback main show. If you're not a listener to that, just search Outback QB and you'll find that. It's the one with the brown logo and the greenish background. This is the one with the brown logo and the blue background. We got 2 shows. Don't miss any of them. Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. We'll see you tomorrow.